Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news this late Friday night. We're going to talk about what happened in Uvalde, Texas, and again with these issues, I hate to make them political. I don't want to make them political. I don't even want to cover the actual situation that happened because, again, we don't have all the facts. We don't have all of the information. But we are constantly forced in a political discussion anytime any of this stuff happens because, of course, they never let a crisis go to waste. Democrats constantly politicize these issues, and therefore conservatives and conservative commentators are always forced in a defensive position. Whenever one of these situations happens somehow, anytime there's a tragic event, it's always Republicans' faults. First, we got to talk about the never let a crisis go to waste, Democrats. You know what I find absolutely despicable, amoral, frankly disgusting? How every single time these events unfold, of course, only when these events unfold within a specific parameter, only if it fits the liberal narrative, how somehow these Democrats seem to always make it about themselves, always seem to take these crises and make it about electing Democrats. And of course, the second is debunk some of the talking points. We've got some stuff to get into. Of course, we're going to start off with this whole Beto O'Rourke situation, but before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned with a YouTube algorithm hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright, folks, so we're talking about a senseless tragedy. And when we're talking about an issue so sensitive, there has to be nuance to find a real legitimate solution. There needs to be cooperation. There needs to be meeting in the middle, real discussions about all the facts, but of course, Democrats are not interested in any of that. For Democrats is black and white. And when Democrats see senseless tragedy, they pounce. It immediately goes to don't let this crisis go to waste, gun control, and make it about getting elected to whatever government position or a position of power you're looking for. And that's exactly what Democrats are doing. Beto O'Rourke confronts Texas Governor Abbott about gun control. Excuse me. Sit down, you're out. You're out of line, and an embarrassment shoot is right now, and you're doing nothing, no Rockies to get his ass out to talk to. So this is totally predictable. When you're sure you're aligned, please leave your sanatorium. I can't believe you're sick. Sort of come to a deal like this to make a political issue. Mikey, why don't you get out of here? We're talking about one of the most horrific, senseless tragedies that just happened. I mean, the wound is not just fresh. It's brand new, and Beto O'Rourke thought it was a good idea to show up to the press conference and to make the whole thing about himself. We know Beto O'Rourke is currently campaigning to become the next governor of Texas. His campaign isn't doing so hot. And so what else could you possibly do to gain recognition and to put yourself in the spotlight but turn this massive tragedy that's dominating the news cycle right now and make it all about yourself with a public stunt? All of a sudden, Democrats all over are cheering on Beto O'Rourke as a national hero and a national treasure. This needs to be all of us. We need more Beto. Please spread the word. Let's add another 1,000 donors to Beto O'Rourke tonight. Please retweet and ask everyone you know to chip into his campaign directly here. Here's Democrat Representative Dean Phillips tweeting out a photo of the individual who stood in front of a tank in Tiananmen Square and comparing it to Beto O'Rourke. I mean, truly despicable stuff. Democrat opportunist Beto O'Rourke says the quote only evil in the Vault massacre is Governor Greg Abbott. And we keep seeing Democrats pushing the same narrative. Democratic lawmaker calls Republican Senator Ted Cruz an effing baby killer in the wake of this situation that happened out in Texas. Democrats have to make it all about themselves. And they have to take this situation and use it as a political opportunity to attack their political opponents, clearly all with the mission of increasing their chances of winning in 2022. Even leftists activists are doing the same thing. Furious NBA coach Stephen Kerr blames Republican U.S. senators for what happened in Texas, says they're holding America hostage and crave power. Here's a quote from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez: "There is no such thing as being, quote, live while supporting laws that let children be shot in their schools. Elders in grocery stores, worshippers in their houses of faith, and survivors by abusers or anyone in. It's an idolatry of violence, and it must end. I mean, What ludicrous claims! The liberals are doing what liberals do best. It's not just the concept of never letting a good crisis go to waste. It's the second pillar of liberal philosophy that cold fear is not to blame individuals or not to blame, but rather only Republicans and of course inanimate objects are to blame for society's woes. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez claims that it's the laws that led to this horrific event. But here's the best response to that claim, actually brought to you by @RealBrysonGray. I'm sure you guys know exactly who he is. There is no gun law that would prevent an evil person from carrying out acts that are already illegal. You can punish all legal gun owners for the acts of evil people. That's not how laws work. Should we ban cars because of the Walkinshaw incident? It's illogical. The majority of these individuals dress emo. Would banning emo clothing help the problem? No. And while it's a little bit facetious, it's true. If somebody wants to commit a horrific act like this, no political slogan or sign outside of the door, claiming it's a violence-free zone or a gun-free zone, is going to stop them. No law is going to stop a criminal who's already a criminal and doesn't respect laws. Is basically that simple. Chicago has some restrictive laws, and we all see what's happening. Democrats just aren't proposing valid solutions. And all they're doing is what Democrats always do. They're making it about themselves. Elect me. If Democrats truly cared about loss of life, they wouldn't have such selective outrage. They only seem to care when it's a situation that they can use to attack Republicans. I mean, look at the selective outrage in respect to this that happened in Texas, so they can go after Texas and the NRA. The situation that happened in Buffalo, where they can somehow twist it, even though the guy's manifesto, he claims to be an authoritarian leftist, but they can twist it to once again go after Tucker Carlson and conservatives. They're going to use those two situations. But what happened in Waukesha would happen in Brooklyn and all these other situations. You don't hear a peep. What's happening in Chicago with nearly 1,000 lost lives every single year, many of which are under the age of 18? Old Democrats don't seem to care about that. But we're supposed to take them seriously. Of course, not because they're not serious. I know they're not serious because of this. Just in Majority Leader Chuck Schumer postpones gun control legislation, does not have the votes. Democrats are waiting till after 2022 to push any legislation targeting gun violence, because they don't have the votes. If Democrats actually cared about doing something and saving lives, they wouldn't have to wait to 2022. So they can make it a campaign issue, which is exactly what they're going to do. By the way, they don't want to talk about inflation or the border, foreign policy, fiscal policy. They're going to use issues like this to gaslight, to scaremonger, to fearmonger, and they're not going to try to find any bipartisan solution until later after they've won. They want to make it a campaign issue. Once again, they want to make it about themselves, instead of actually doing anything for the American people. And we're supposed to take them seriously. I don't take these people seriously. Because if they were serious, they'd be willing to pass some common sense legislation, some bipartisan legislation right now, not next year after the election, and they wouldn't be so focused on a partisan issue. They'd be trying to get Republicans to the table. They wouldn't be sending over tens of billions of dollars. And really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not just Ukraine, but hundreds of billions of dollars abroad. They'd be willing to spend billions of dollars to protect your children at school with better security and better facilities, but they don't, and they won't, because they don't care. It's just more sloganeering. That is really all. It is not about a real solution. It's always about making it a campaign issue. And of course, in typical Democrat fashion, it's our way or the highway. It's the same self-righteousness where right Republicans just don't care. Republicans just have a different opinion. They have a different perspective. Their view is campus security. Their perspective is campus security and society at large, being more ready to defend itself and defend their communities. But of course, from the left-wing perspective, Republicans are just soulless and heartless and just don't care. And of course, lefties are going as far to blame Republicans like Ted Cruz of being, quote, baby killers, and it just shows you exactly who they are. Our way or the highway creates a situation where regular law-abiding citizens are left defenseless, unarmed, and the only people armed in their vision of society is the government and criminals. What a fantastic solution in considering the amount of young people that are lost in Democrat cities every single year than by their definition and their standards. Well, I guess they're the baby killers. And I guess the AOC's perspective, they're the ones supporting laws that let children be put in harm's way. It's all just utterly ridiculous. It's all political. I just want to be able to talk about this stuff and come to actual solutions without all of the political partisan garbage that Democrats get us into each and every single time. Thanks for being here, folks. Big hug. Ciao. Goodbye. God bless.